This video is brought to you by Smash Bracket, the animated Super Smash Bros. Tournament series that seeks to answer who the strongest character in Super Smash Bros. Is. The link is in the description. Welcome to InkThinks. The invention of indie games is a really fantastic thing for the gaming scene. Before the advent of indie games, developers had to go through major companies and a lot of hoops in order to be able to create even just one game. But now, due to the modern age of the internet, just about anybody with a computer can make their own game. And while a vast majority of indie games go undiscovered, there have been some truly incredible indie games over the years. So much so that they've inspired quite the audience to the point that people want to see them in Super Smash Bros. Whether that's Shantae, Sans from Undertale, or Zagreus from Hades, there are all sorts of games that weren't made by traditional methods but still grab the hearts of all of its players. That said, to this point today, we still haven't really seen true indie representation within Super Smash Bros., at least as far as a fully fledged fighter goes. And is Sakurai closed off from adding indie characters as future challengers? Let's get into it. So as I said earlier, indie games are a really incredible thing. Some of the most impactful games to me have been indie games. Undertale is one that really left an impact on me, really challenging the way that people view random monsters within RPGs. And Hades is the very first game I've ever seriously tried to speedrun. While in days prior there may have been a pretty noticeable gap in quality between AAA games and indie games, that gap is slowly closing. And it's only natural with that closing gap and the increasing quality of indie games that people want to see those characters in Smash. Now, anytime that I've seen indie characters brought up in Smash, I get a few different comments. The first comment that we're going to go into real fast is that Smash already has indie characters. This is an interesting position to take, and to me it always has kind of felt like people intentionally misinterpreting what's being represented in Smash. We do have Shovel Knight as an assist trophy, that is very true, and we also see Sans as a Mii costume. But the closest that we've ever come to having an indie character as a fighter is Steve from Minecraft. So what's the issue with this? I mean, obviously, when people say we want indie representation in Smash, most of the time they're talking about a fully fledged fighter that they can play as. And while Sans is technically playable, you're not actually playing as Sans, but rather a different character dressed like him. And when people point to Steve as being an example of indie game inclusion, it doesn't totally feel genuine. Yes, it is true that Minecraft started off as an indie game, but it's grown way beyond that. Not only has it been bought out by Microsoft, but it has also become the biggest game in the world. More copies of this game have been sold than the population of a bunch of different countries. And while that's something that's absolutely incredible, I don't think that Steve is a good representation of what people are looking for when they want an indie representation in Smash. Because for a lot of times with fans of indie games, it's not just about seeing their favorite character in Smash, but it's also what it would mean to legitimize the indie gaming scene. Minecraft is huge, and it did start off as an indie game, but what indie games represent now, at least to me, are passion projects, a way to bypass the system and the industry in order to let somebody get their crazy idea out there for a bunch of people to play. And Minecraft is just on such a different scale now that even if Minecraft started as an indie game, its representation in Super Smash Bros. Feels a little bit different to me. But let's get to the second comment that I get all the time with indie games, which is that Nintendo would never consider adding an indie character as a fighter because they want more money. So the implication here is if they go with a AAA character rather than an indie character, more people are going to recognize that character and more people are going to buy the game and the Challenger Pack as a result of that. Now, to me, this argument makes a lot of sense on its face, but it isn't until we start to go deeper that it really starts to dissolve. Take a character like Banjo-Kazooie who got into Super Smash Bros. His game has around 3.5 million sales, which is nothing to sneeze at. It's a really impressive number, and it's no wonder that he's added into Smash. That said, when you compare it with some other popular games like Five Nights at Freddy's or Undertale, these numbers just pale in comparison, especially for a game made by Rare, a major game developer. In my opinion, if you take the sales of these indie characters and list them against some of the characters who got into Smash with relatively smaller sales numbers, such as Banjo-Kazooie, there isn't a super meaningful difference, especially when you look at them compared to some of the best-selling games in Super Smash Bros, such as Dragon Quest. So to me, the argument that AAA characters are always going to be broadly more recognizable just doesn't hold up. especially in the age of YouTube and Twitch where indie games can be shared super easily. Now, the angle that this argument might kind of make sense from is relationship building between businesses. If, for example, Nintendo wanted to build a stronger relationship with Microsoft, then of course it would make more sense for Nintendo to put in one of Microsoft's characters rather than going with an indie character. But business relationships that happen behind the scenes are always incredibly speculative, and to me it's not really enough of a basis to say whether or not it would factor against an indie character getting into Smash. And the third and final argument that I often see brought up against indie characters just really blows my mind, and it really seems like people just aren't looking at the facts. This is that Nintendo somehow isn't even aware of indie characters. Yes, I genuinely get this comment. That Nintendo views all of these characters as literally whos. So this falls on its face in a couple of different places. First off, Nintendo themselves have a regularly occurring direct called the Nindies, which is entirely dedicated to featuring independent developers on the Nintendo Switch. So that alone is confirmation enough that Nintendo is aware of indie games and wants to help them grow. But apart from that, we do see indie characters represented in Super Smash Bros. Without being playable fighters. For example, like I said earlier, we see Shovel Knight as an assist trophy, or we see Sans or Cuphead as Mii costumes. This is an argument that just doesn't hold up well in my opinion. So this all begs the question, will these characters ever be put into Smash? It would be really interesting to see a lot of these characters face off against some of our favorite fighters so we can see which one would win. Speaking of which, real fast, let's take a look at today's sponsor, Smash Bracket. Now, Smash Bracket is a YouTube series run by yours truly. What we do each episode is take two fighters from Super Smash Bros. And pit them against each other to see who would win in a fight, and then animate the results at the end. It's all set up in a giant tournament bracket, so we'll see who is canonically the strongest out of everybody. It's a lot of fun to make and a lot of fun to watch, but since we're still a small startup, we need all the help we can get. If you'd like to support the series, please consider checking it out with the link in the description. We're also running a Kickstarter right now to pre-fund the entire thing, which would allow us to commit to a loser's bracket, as well as do a couple of viewer choice one-off matches. If you don't have money to donate, that's fine too. If we reach a certain amount of subscribers before the Kickstarter is over, then we'll be able to dedicate ourselves to doing a mini assist trophy bracket, which will be a lot of fun to animate. Anyway, check it out if you're interested. The link is in the description. Let's get back into the video. So, will Sakurai ever add an indie character as a playable fighter to Smash? I'm sure this won't come as a surprise to anyone who's seen my stuff before, but I don't think that we have enough information to say one way or the other. My personal guess would be, yeah, if the series continues long enough, we're probably going to see some indie representation in Super Smash Bros. Do I think that it's going to happen in Ultimate within the next 2 fighter passes? No, I don't, unfortunately. I think that while indie gaming is growing, it still has a lot more room to make up if it wants to be viewed as legitimate within the eyes of these major gaming companies, especially one like Nintendo that is historically a bit slower to adapt to the times. But we've started to see some really great strides toward this. Representation in other parts of Super Smash Bros., like I said, is a really big step, as well as Nintendo's dedicated effort to helping indie developers on the Switch, and I don't think that these should be ignored. In conclusion, do I think that indie characters are coming to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? No, I don't. Do I think that they're going to be coming to Super Smash Bros. Sometime in the future? Yeah, almost certainly. But what do you think? Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to hit like if you enjoyed this and hit subscribe if you want to see more. Please go check out the Smash Bracket channel if that interests you. We could use all the help that we can get. And until next time, keep thinking.